Hey World Vision fans, this is Nashtaters and welcome back to another episode of World Visions. So today I would actually like to give a complete guide on how to use the brand new Fragments of Thoughts used for non-UR units. I'm going to show you where to get them, I'm going to show you how to use them, and then I'm also talk about the impact that the EX Job 25 is going to have on all the units that are not of the UR quality. So I'm going to show you how to get these Fragments of Thoughts first. This actual update was introduced to us maybe a few weeks ago. Here you can see Azure imbued Fragment of Thought. You can actually use this during one of the events that's currently going on. You can actually exchange for the gold or the Azure version. Now previously, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, you can actually simply go to the shop, and in there during one of these celebration shops, they gave you the option to purchase it using gold. And that was a great way to gain a lot of those Fragments of Thoughts for your units that are not of the UR quality. In the future, I think we're going to be getting more possibilities of gaining those from the shop by using gold. There's also a possibility that we may be getting some of them during login rewards. And obviously, there are most likely going to be opportunities for us to purchase them with real life cash. But for most of us, it's better just to keep waiting until we're able to gain a lot of these Fragments of Thought for free over time. So let's take a look at how to actually utilize these Fragments of Thoughts. Now when the game was first introduced to us, every single unit in the game utilized the Rainbow Fragment of Thought. So unfortunately, players were tasked with the difficult decision on which units to be building simply because they all share the same item. Now that we're given these new Fragments of Thoughts, we're most likely going to have to make less and less tough decisions because now we can actually choose units that we really want to build without having to overthink it. When you see the menu of awakening a unit, you still see clearly that the Rainbow Fragment of Thought is in the front page. You actually have to click Awaken. And once you do that, you can actually now decide which of these you can use. I don't really understand why we have to do this, simply because we should be ideally using the brand new Fragments of Thoughts instead of going back to the Rainbow. But I also like the idea that this game still gives us the option to choose Rainbow Fragment of Thought if you really don't care about the new changes. So now that we talked about how to use them, where to obtain them, and ultimately why you perhaps should be using them, let's talk about how the impact of the new Job EX25 is going to have on some of these rarity units that are not of UR quality. Now, as I mentioned before, when the game was first introduced to us, we were essentially had to make tough decisions on which units to build. The EX Job 25 will be coming out hopefully soon on global at the 1-year anniversary mark. Now we will be allowed to have certain units in the game to be increased in level cap. Now one thing I also realized playing tons of different games across my years of gaming experience, I realized whenever they increase the level cap, essentially is just hitting a big giant reset button. And I think that's where essentially we're going back to square one. Now on paper it sounds great because everybody loves to see numbers get bigger and bigger. And ultimately leveling in RPGs is a very rewarding experience. But what does this actually mean for units that are not of UR quality? Will this mean that now we have the flexibility to make them bigger, better, and stronger? Let's take a look. Essentially, you'll be needing tons of different materials in order to access the new jobs. It means that you once again are tasked with a tough decision on which units to take to the next level. And if it's true that the MR units and the UR units most likely share the same amount of materials used, and even if they do not, and it's just a tiny drop in the materials needed, once again it's going to be a very tough choice to just randomly picking MR units. And since we're going to be require tons of time, tons of farming, it really will be one of those situations where essentially we're going back to where the game was first introduced to us. So that's kind of where we're at. Unfortunately, we're going to have to start all over. Now, when I say all over, I don't mean actually from scratch. It just means that you'll be continuing from level 99 to level 120. Now, not every single unit, from my understanding, requires the 120 treatment. But the thing is, I've always stated that if a unit has the potential to reach max level, there's absolutely no reason not to take them there. Unless, of course, the skill that you're trying to access at level 120 is just so bad, it's definitely not worth the time to farm all those materials. But either way, I really hope that the EX Job 25 treatment really make players feel a lot better about the decisions they have to ultimately make, whether which unit to take first. Now, the good news is the game is designed and that not every single unit in the game will be allowed to go to Job EX25. So therefore, your decision making, generally speaking, isn't very hard in the first few months. But over the course of the next coming year, perhaps, we're going to have to ultimately decide which of the lower rarity units or the non-UR units you're going to have to go ahead and want to bring up. I think the decision comes from the idea of which unit you actually enjoy playing with the most and how impactful they're going to have on your account. Personally, I don't think there are going to be too many non-UR units that I would like to bring up all the way to Job 25. And the reason being is if the materials are in fact going to be the same, there's no reason for me to even consider them for bringing them to Job 25. Perhaps many months down the road, right before the 2-year anniversary mark, we're going to have a significant reduction in the amount of materials needed for some of those units to be taken to the next level. And I think at that time, perhaps then we can start thinking about and maybe go back to this conversation once again. Hopefully that's not the case though, because I know there's a humongous fan base within the community of War of Divisions that really enjoy the non-UR units. And in fact, there's actually a YouTuber out there that really likes to concentrate on clearing all the content in the game using almost, if at all, any UR units. And a lot of people associate free-to-play gaming with non-UR units. And I also want to clarify that that's not always the case, because a lot of the actual heavy spenders rely on some of the units in this game that are not of UR quality, whether it be their TMRs or perhaps needing them because of the low cost in class match play. Now, these are all strategic moves, obviously, but for your normal run-of-the-mill free-to-play players, it's better to understand that you do not need to build every single unit in the game, and that you really need to think about and step back and take a look at all the different information out there that's available to you and finally making the decisions that you need to make in creating and building a character that will ultimately affect your account in a very positive way. Alright, I think that's all the time I have for this video. I hope you enjoy this kind of stuff because I know I certainly enjoy making it. At the end of the day, I don't really always like to do guides of any sort, but when I see something that is very good and very helpful for the community, I would like to jump on it. Until next time, take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Nashtaters and his family out of here. Peace.